all, shout out Best Dressed for giving me this video idea. She did an incredible one on apartments in New York City that I'm not even looking for apartments in New York City, and I literally watched all like 30 minutes of it. So I hope you guys will do the same for apartments in Austin, whether or not you're actually looking here. So a little summary of this video, I'm going to be including actual rent prices and locations, so that way it's helpful for you guys if you're actually looking for an apartment. Okay, a quick rundown of what we're looking for logistically. We're looking for a 2-bedroom apartment since, oh my gosh, I didn't even say. Me and my boyfriend Danny are moving in together, which is so exciting. So it took me and him looking. And so obviously we're going to be sharing 1 bedroom, but we really wanted a 2-bedroom. Since it's our first time living together, we wanted to have a lot of extra space so we could still have a lot of our own alone time and our own spaces. Our budget is under $1,200 a month. And our goal was to be within 15 minutes of downtown so we could still really easily go downtown and do fun things, but we wouldn't have to pay the prices of being right in the heart of downtown. So to give you a little quick rundown of Austin, you have downtown, and below that is south of the river, and then above downtown is campus, and then above that is just the general North Austin, and we were looking all in North Austin. So before each apartment, I'm going to quickly tell you guys kind of the pros and cons of the different neighborhoods that they're in.
The first place we toured was a townhome in the Triangle. The Triangle is definitely more of a high-end area, but if you live a few blocks away, you get all the perks of having nice restaurants, little parks, and cute shops, while still working within a lower budget. This is going to be a common theme with our locations: live near the rich while not being the rich. Anyway, let's take a look at our first tour. The first thing I noticed when entering the townhome is how open the kitchen and living space felt. In a lot of future apartments we tour, spoiler alert, the kitchens feel almost completely separate from the living space, almost like their own little room. This can make the apartment feel a lot smaller, so I really loved how open the townhome was. Then all of the bedrooms were upstairs, which was honestly really nice to have all of your personal stuff separate from downstairs where all guests would be hanging out. You could always keep the downstairs really clean, but be as messy as you want upstairs, and no one would know. Overall, we really loved the 2 stories and how spacious the townhome was, as well as the bathroom counters and hardware seemed really nice and modern, but the windows were so tiny. This honestly would have been one of my top places if there was more natural light in the space.
This also is going to sound really silly, but it just didn't have that factor that just made me really excited to live there, and I don't know what that factor is, but you have to feel like you're say yes to the dress moment. What do you think of the townhome?
Townhome's good. I like the stairs. Take two. I like the stairs in the townhome a lot.
Oh, that was it? Mm-hmm. Oh my god, my plant! Okay, moving on. I know I did that, like I'm a cheerleader. Okay, next we've got Mueller Park. Can I get an M? U-E-L-L-E-R.
Did you just make a chant?
I did.
No, I heard that.
Cool. Bye.
Bye,
Emily. The next apartment takes us to a new location, which is about a 10-minute walk from the heart of Mueller Park.
We had a ton of time before our tour to scope out this area, and I absolutely fell in love with it. There's a huge, I repeat, huge park with tons of young families, which is so refreshing coming from all student housing. And then surrounding the park is also more coffee shops than I could count, restaurants, and other assorted fun places, and a ton of really cute homes for rent, which I can only dream of living in one day. And although I really loved the area, the apartment itself was a few blocks away from the park, right by a pretty busy highway.
Which made me a little nervous noise-wise, since I would be filming in my apartment. But let's go ahead and go on the tour. I don't know why I did that. So the apartment itself was pretty cute, but not super exciting. What was exciting is that it was under $1,000. Yep, you heard that right. Under $1,000 for a 2-bedroom. Depending on the layout and the number of bathrooms, it was between $900 and $950, which is just like literally insane. Like too good to be true. $900. It also had pretty nice countertops and this brick backsplash, which I absolutely loved. In other pros, it had a balcony, a community pool, and a pretty good-sized living space. One con of a really big living room is that all the apartments we looked at had about the same amount of square feet, like around 800, 850 square feet. The only difference is that they had different size like living rooms and kitchens and bedrooms. So really, it just depends what your preference is of do you want your square footage in your living space or in your bedrooms. And this apartment did have a really big living room, which should be a huge pro, and it is, but then the con was that there was less space in the bedrooms. And because this is both of our first times sharing an apartment, it was pretty important to us to have a pretty good sized bedroom since it's gonna be 2 people in there instead of just 1, which we were both used to before. And then one other con is that it had really narrow windows everywhere, which really just didn't let in a lot of light. So again, back to the lighting issue for filming. Overall, we really like this apartment, especially for the price. Did I say it was $900? Holla! But it is always important to do your research. I looked them up on like every place you could possibly find reviews, and they had a lot of really bad reviews from like a year plus ago, and then more recently all the reviews became really good, which could be a good sign that they changed management or updated their apartments. But it honestly just made me nervous that there was like years of bad reviews. But because of the good price, despite the slightly sketchy reviews, it's definitely one of our top choices at this point. Okay, next we're going to drumroll, Hyde Park.
On paper, Hyde Park is probably the least exciting of all the locations we've looked at so far, but it has a ton of really cool older neighborhoods, and no house looks the same as any other. You won't find any cookie-cutter suburbs here. There's also some really cool strips of restaurants and bakeries, along with a fancy schmancy golf course. I know we're looking on the cheaper end of apartments, but there's something about living around rich people that just makes you feel rich, you know?
Not really, it actually kind of makes you feel sad about your own apartment when you walk next door to a giant golf course, country clubs, and really big homes, but a girl can dream, right? Yeah. So, lastly, it is between the last 2 locations we looked, Mueller and the Triangle, so we could take a long walk or short drive to either of those places, which is kind of the best of both worlds since we'd be near everything, honestly. Now, this apartment was both the biggest and the most expensive out of all the places we looked at, but it was still in our price range. It also had free gas, free AC, free parking, 1 free month's rent, and a $100 Home Depot gift card when you signed up. Did you hear that? Did you hear how many times I just said the word free in that sentence? That's crazy. Pandemic prices, everybody. I am ready for COVID to be over, but it is also a great time to get an apartment, apparently. So this apartment didn't have a balcony, but it was a corner apartment, so the complex told us that we could set up like plants or a little table and chairs like right outside our door since we were in the corner. And then, are you ready? Drum roll, please. It had a white brick fireplace and curved bay windows. That's right, you heard me right. I literally just like, my heart just like melted and I just fell in love right then and there with these windows and this fireplace and the white brick. Oh my gosh, it made me so excited. The living space, again, was really big, but the kitchen was just like weirdly super narrow. Like it was kind of odd how narrow it was. And then one of the bedrooms was a pretty good size. The other was fairly small, but again, the windows were so tiny. Like, they had floor-to-ceiling windows in the living room, which I guess I could have filmed out there, but like, why is it so hard to make like bigger windows in an apartment? Like, I actually don't understand. Like, couldn't you save space on wall? I know glass is expensive. I don't know how construction works, but just put in some damn windows, people, you know? Okay, I'll stop being heated. The living room was literally just perfect. Like, it was like everything I was looking for, but then I didn't really love the rest of the apartment. It was definitely more on the older side, and despite getting all those like really great free perks, like I mentioned at the beginning, the rent was still the highest out of all of them that we looked at. And yeah, I was so torn on this one because the living room was literally perfect, but then I just didn't really love the rest of the apartment, so high on our list, but I didn't know what to do about this one. Okay, this next apartment was really bad, so I'm not even gonna bore you with a tour of it, but here are just some of the bad highlights. Like, what? Like, what is this? Okay, anyways, moving on. Now, this next apartment, me and Danny had been eyeing on Zillow for like a month. We even had a friend already tour it for us and like send us pictures because we were just like really giddy about this apartment. It made us like basically neighbors to all of our friends, which I know we could just bus, walk, or drive to see them, but something about just like walking down the street to your friend's place just hits different. So upon entering the apartment, it definitely wasn't objectively the cutest of all the apartments. The kitchen is definitely a little outdated, but not too bad. The thing that got me though is going into the the living room, I was immediately struck by how full of light the space is. It has a really huge balcony and like floor to ceiling glass sliding door that goes out to the balcony, and that just allowed so much light to come into the living room. The bedrooms didn't have huge windows, but the light hit in a way where you got pretty direct sunlight, which is really great for filming. Now, this place had 3 big cons. These really outdated, thick popcorn ceilings, this super weird tile that worked in the kitchen, but it extended into the hallway all the way to the bathroom, which was just odd. And then thirdly, all the fans and lights weren't actually wired into the walls, but were just plugged into the outlets, so you just had like cords, like chain cords hanging everywhere. And because of that, none of the light switches worked because everything was just plugged in. It was just so odd. Like so weird. One thing about these cons though is that minus the popcorn ceilings, the other 2 issues were fairly fixable. I figured we could cover the tile with lots of rugs, or they do have like faux floor options for renters. And then we actually ended up talking the landlord into wiring all of the ceiling fans, which I could not believe that they were actually willing to do this. They really fought us on it, but we basically just told them that we really love the place, we'd be interested in signing, but that was like kind of a deal breaker that just really had to be fixed. They had to be wired properly, and they ended up saying yes, and I'm terrible at surprises. This was not very dramatic, but that is the apartment that we went with. Yeah, it's where I'm at right now. This chair is actually the first piece of furniture we bought. We just got it today. I am already moved in, as you can see, so I already have an entire moving vlog planned that is going up next week of me and Danny moving into our apartment together and setting up some of our first things. And then after that, I want to do a really big video that's going to be like 30-40 minutes long, like HGTV style, of how we set up our apartment. We did a lot of kind of like DIY home renovation projects. We're still in the middle of setting up so much. We had to buy almost all our furniture from scratch, which is a lot of money, but it's kind of a cool process to see how we picked everything out and why we picked everything out and how we paired things together and designed our room, how we covered up that really ugly tile floor in a really creative way. And with that, I will see you next week for a moving vlog. All right, bye guys.
Missing someone.